everybody. Happy Monday. I hope you're having a good start to your week. I hope you had a great weekend. And I'm excited about today's topic. So the next few topics for Mindset Monday, I thought what I'd do is kind of focus them more towards the holiday season. Because, of course, in a couple weeks, we have Thanksgiving coming up, and then we go into the Christmas season. So I want to first start off by introducing myself. I am Drew Demery. I'm a business strategy coach. So if you've never joined us on Mindset Monday before, welcome. What I basically go through every Monday is we focus on a different topic around mindset, because I have found as a coach that most of the challenges that we face in our careers or in our personal life really starts with our mindset. All right. So I want to kick off today's topic, which is about communication. One thing I'll tell you is that growing up, I always heard about the importance of hard work and persevering and being honest and having integrity. But one thing that was never really focused on was communication. And as I got into the business world, as I became involved in different relationships, they just never told me that the communication is the key to success. Communication, in my opinion, is the key to any relationship you have, any marriage, any friendship, and definitely in a business relationship, communication is that. So I guess that when I start off today, I want you to think about, what is your mindset around communication? Do you think it's important? And even better yet, what I want you to think about, and if I'd love for you to comment below this video, is on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best, what would you grade yourself as a communicator? How effectively do you think you communicate with your spouse or partner? How effectively do you communicate with your team at your work or some element of your life? I'd like to kind of hear what your thoughts are on that. A few weeks back, I did the exact same thing with my group of clients that I coach, and I was anywhere between a 2 to a 3. And we had an honest conversation around how we can move that forward as far as me as a coach with them. And I think when I was going through that exercise with them, it brought a lot out for myself. Somebody says 2. So one thing I would say is that I have 3 main belief systems around communication that unfortunately are false. And that's something at this point in my life and as a coach I see a lot. Number 1 is that we believe we are already born at good communication, and therefore we don't need to practice or getting better. So we just think right out of the gate that we're born to communicate. The second thing that I find that's not correct in the way we communicate with each other is that we believe that good communication is just common sense. So we think should be natural, right? Because we're born with it. We also think that it's common sense. And then the third thing is we inaccurately assume others what we already know, what they know. So unfortunately, all 3 of those are a false mindset around communication, because we do have communication skills when we're born, but they're not always effective. So we have to learn better practices. I can tell you, being married as long as I have, I definitely communicate differently than when I communicated when I first dated my wife at the time. Also, going back to that, it's common sense. For you, it might be a situation where you're communicating a task, let's just say to one of your team members at work. They don't accomplish the task in the way in which you expected it to be done. You expect what they call common sense, right? You expect at this point that they would have done it your way, but that's not the case. And then that's also when we know what others want. Is unless we communicate specifically what we want, we're not going to get the same results. And that's what I always talk about, the ineffectiveness of communication. So there are people that would rate themselves at a higher scale, and they're like, I'm a great communicator. I talk to my staff daily. I send out emails daily. The challenge with that is, how effective are you? The ineffective communication, really there's 3 symptoms that we see in a business environment, or really in a personal relationship. The symptoms of an ineffective communicator kind of like the flu symptoms: low efficiency, low morale, and decreased innovation. Those are the three things that if you see those symptoms, you need to think back and look honestly at your communication. Is it effective or is it ineffective? Because if we don't correct your communication with your clients, your staff, hey, even your relationship, if it's not efficient, so you're not getting it to them in a timely manner, if you're not giving them morale, you give them the mindset that says, hey, this is going in a positive direction, they're also not going to have any creativity, right? So it's going to be up to you to lift them up and keep pushing them forward, which is, as a leader, some of the challenges of communication is that you feel like you're pushing someone to make a choice or decision. If you can turn that around to have a more effective communication, then you're not going to be pushing them, you're going to be walking beside them. So one of the things that we kind of go through is not the lack of the communication. You know, we get a lot of emails and we get a lot of memos in our office, but it's the information is not clear. It's not laid down in a correct path with a goal or solution to it. So one of the things that I would encourage you to do is, as a leader in your family, leader in your business, is make sure you look at what you're asking the person to do. Communication sometimes is overcomplicated, so simplify the objective or the message that you're trying to portray to the client, to the customer, to the employee, to the family member. Because what happens is when they don't have a clear goal of what you want, it becomes very frustrating for them, and honestly, then they tend to quit. Or they just kind of get it done and they know you're not going to be satisfied with it at the same time. Okay? So I want you to definitely focus on that ineffective communication symptom. I also want to talk to you about something that I teach my clients consistently. There's two things in their business that they currently have to do to effectively be communicating with their current clients or clients they are looking to attract. And the two things that I focus on, number one, is the frequency of your communication. So how often are you communicating with this client? The second thing, number two, is the volume. How loud or how does your message stand out amongst the other people, right? So those are the two things that if you're trying to run an effective business, really if you're even trying to run an effective or efficient family, it's the frequency and the volume. Those two things, think about it like a radio station, right? Your favorite song is on the radio. How frequently do you hear it? And do you turn up the volume and you jam out in your car, right? It's the constant thought process of that's almost like a cadence, right? So frequency is how often. So with my clients, we have different what we call touch systems. So if I meet a client today, the frequency of it is I'm going to reach out to them once a week for a series of 12 weeks. That's the frequency, right? That's every month they're going to get some form of communication from me about what services they're needing from me. The second thing is the volume, which is how does it stand out or how does it send a message? So what I make sure with my clients is that what is the client needing? Right? And then that's what we're going to send them. We're not going to send them a generic email. We're not going to send them a generic text. We're going to send them something that has a call to action so that they can hear the volume of your conversation or your message, and that would entice them to communicate back with you. Because you guys realize that right now in the age that we're at, I mean, I'm talking to you on Facebook Live, right? There's so many forms of communication. So we almost have a lot of white noise that we all can't hear because we have all bombarded of different communication styles coming at us. Twitter, Facebook, social media at all platforms. Plus we have email, plus we have mail, plus we have... It's just crazy. So I think in a state where we currently have so many communication options, it's a challenge because we actually don't communicate as effectively as we should. And I think that shows up at our bottom line in our business, but I also think it shows up in our bottom line in our relationships, because honestly, it's because we're not focusing on the mindset on what communication can offer us, and the end result is just better productivity all around. Alrighty, so the next thing I want to talk about, the thing that we're going to end this Mindset Monday session on, is we often communicate in just verbal words, right? So we know statistically, if you've ever heard the data, but 7% of your communication is just the words that you say. 7%. So the other 93% is your tone and your body language. So you'll see social media and a lot of business professionals are now going into more video, right? The reason why we're going into video is rather than sending an email to you about the topic or the situation, a lot of times now we're switching to video. The reason why is because you can see me, right? You can see my tone, you can see my body language, and the words still are coming out the same way. I'm going to give you a very simple example. Those of you may know that I have a daughter, Emma. She's 12 years old. So the tonality and the body language is what I want you to listen to. So if I tell Emma, hey, can you clean your bedroom? Very neutral tone, very neutral body language. The second time I'm going to say it, hey, Emma, I need you to clean your room. Right? The second time, it was the same exact word, so the same 7%, but the 93% is my tonality changed and my body language. You see, I kind of even flexed up a little bit in the video. So the difference between you saying a clear message to whether it's your employee, your team member, or even your spouse or partner, is the difference is the words you're using is only 7%. So be very conscious of your environment. What is the tonality or your body language showing? There's so many times we get miscommunication because you say one thing and they interpret a different way. It's because you communicating with them, they're looking at your body language, they're looking at your tonality or hearing your tonality. They're really not even hearing your words sometimes. So think about that, the 7 to 93% difference every time you're communicating, because we got to really watch that, because that's how human connection is formed, is by that 93%, unfortunately, because that's not a controllable factor. And then also the final thing I want to kind of talk about is communication is part science and part art. So art and science kind of mixed together, because we got to realize that our mindset is established over our childhood. What we must realize is that developing your mindset about better communication starts with you being conscious of what you're saying, the tonality and everything we just talked about, because what your interpretation of as far as the way you're communicating might not be effective. And so be humble, realize that is something, it's just important to just feel what's happening in the situation, because your words might not be construed the correct way, and then you have number one, ineffective communication, but you're breaking relationships. You're tarnishing a situation that really doesn't need to have the negative effects behind it, if that makes sense. So I definitely, somebody chimed in, actually my wife chimed in, that text and email can be misinterpreted. Absolutely. And that's an example of words, right? 7% are just words. So if you receive a text message, all caps, what is the tonality of that? Most people would say the caps would be, you're yelling at me, right? Well, that doesn't mean that's the case. That person just might be in caps by accident or on purpose, but they don't know the difference. So email, same thing. So voicing these concerns by email and text, if you have a negative situation happening in your life, is not an effective form of communication, because you're shutting off the 93%. So just wanted to kind of end that segment of that. Businesses are always looking for more leads, right? They're constantly looking, how can I get more leads? How can I get more business? What if we focused on better communication, right? What if we focused with our employees how to communicate better with each other? What if we saw each other in a different way and saw the different perspectives of what they offered, right? Communicating, slowing down and hearing what they have to say, and then interpreting that to decide if that's going to be an effective solution to the problem. I'm telling you, as you go into the holiday season, communication is going to be huge. You're going to be seeing family members that you haven't seen in a while, right? A lot of times you only see them a couple times of the year. You're also going to be communication when you guys in business. We're winding down the end of the year, so we're setting goals going into the next year. The communication between your business goals and communication between your family after the holiday season is all about the mindset. What am I doing? How is it being interpreted? And what can I do differently? So as we end this Mindset Monday, I want you to think about this week. What can I do to be more effective with my communication? Right? It's slow down. It's understand that the more effective you can be as a communicator, the better results you're going to get on the other end. Okay? So final thing, mindset quote. This is my favorite quote from Stephen Covey. I don't know if you've heard of Stephen Covey. He's the man. I love him. He's a great communicator. He says, the biggest communication problem is we don't listen to understand. The biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand. We listen to reply, right? We know that, right? And I think Stephen Covey consistently talks about this in all of his books and all of his workshops that I've ever been to, is when you're communicating with someone, let them talk, right? Let them say what they need to say and just listen. Because if we don't, what we're doing is we're trying to regurgitate that information and we're trying to reply because we want to sound intelligent, right? But the key part about communication is letting the person communicate their own views, whether you agree with them or not, and then thinking of a way to articulate whether you agree or disagree in a respectful way. All right? So, well, thanks for joining on Mindset Monday. Like we said, we're going to kind of narrow the focus as we go into the holiday seasons on specific topics around situations that may happen during the last few months of the year. During the holiday season. So thanks. Have a great and productive week. And I appreciate you joining on Mindset Monday and have an awesome day. Bye.